everyone, welcome back to Feather Stitch House. My name's Rebecca and each week on this channel I make videos about embroidery and textile art to help you get creative. It's week 4 of our 2025 Winging It project. This year we're doing Pick of the Pots. Each week I'm going to pick a colour, a shape and a stitch out of my 3 plant pots, and we're going to make a piece of improvised textile art inspired by those picks. Thank you so much for all the love this series is getting. I've been blown away by your support and I'm so enjoying seeing all of your versions popping up on my Instagram feed and in our Facebook group. If you haven't joined that group, there is a link in the description below and you can post your work. It's the loveliest, most supportive community, so don't be shy, go for it and see what happens. We're all at different stages, so we can all learn something from each other. So without any more hesitation, let's head into my studio and let's get picking.
Right, it's pick time, so I'm going to start the stopwatch just to guarantee no cheating. And we've got our colour pot, our shape pot and our stitch pot. So here we go. What are we going to be doing this week? Right, our colour is primary colours. Nice. So we've got primary colours. I did tell you there was going to be some left field colours in there. So we've had dawn, now we've had primary. And we've got an 8-point star as our shape. What stitch are we going to use? Oh, twisted chain. We had that last week. I must have put it back in the pot. What a mistake. Let's pick another one. Woven wheel. Oh, interesting combination. Right, so let's get rid of our pots. Sorry about doubling up. We don't want to use twisted chain again. We want all different stitches. Either that or I've put it twice on my grid, so I'll have to throw another stitch in there. But we've definitely got rid of that one. So off it goes. So primary colours, 8-point stars and woven wheels. How are we going to get those together? I don't know. I'm going to go away, have a think, and then we'll come back and see what we can come up with. I'm just going to get my hoop and show you the stitch first, and then we'll get going. I'll see you in a minute. Right, let's demonstrate the stitch. You can see that I've drawn a circle in the centre of my fabric here, and to make a woven wheel, the first step, this is a sort of 2-step stitch. We're going to create some spokes first of all. So I want to find roughly the centre, and the key to this is that you need an odd number of spokes. You can't just do 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 3 o'clock and hope for the best. There has to be an odd number. And you want to keep them as even as possible. If there are some slight inaccuracies, it's really not the end of the world, so don't panic. I'm going to start with, let's go 5. So to do 5, think of a stick man with his arms up in the air, like that. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are going to be the locations of our spokes. Now the more spokes you have, the tighter the wheel will be. The fewer spokes you have, the looser it will be. If you went down to 3 spokes, it would work, but you'd end up with something far more triangular. So fewer spokes means you get a more angular outer edge. More spokes will make it more circular. So I've got some pearl cotton here. because it's going to be easier to show. Let me come in a little bit closer. So we're going to start by coming up on the outer edge of our circle. I've just got a knot in my thread. We want that knot away from the centre because the centre is going to get quite busy. So I've come up on the outer edge of my circle and I'm going to go back down at the centre. Then I'm going to come up on the next spoke on the outer edge of my circle. And back down at the centre. Up again on the outer edge. Down at the centre. Up on the outer edge. So we're just working our way around the circle, putting our spokes in place. And we're always starting on the outer edge and going back down at the centre. So I've got my 5 spokes in, and what I want to do now is just bring my needle back up as close to the centre as I possibly can, but in a different segment to where I just went down. So I want to catch just a few threads of the weave of the fabric under my stitch, otherwise I'm just going to undo that last spoke. So I've come up in this segment here and just caught a little bit of fabric underneath. So that's what it looks like on the back at the moment. So what we're going to do now is weave, and I find this easier to lead with the eye end of my needle. If you lead with the point, you are likely to catch your thread and hook it in or catch the fabric. So you want a blunt needle really, and we're going to just work our way around the circle. And because we've got an odd number of spokes, every time we go round we're going to be doing the opposite of what we've just done. So we're going to go over, this is spoke number 1 here, we're going to go over that, my thread's to the right of it, over that and under the next one and pull through. You want to pull as tight as you can without distorting your fabric. So we've gone over, under, we're going to go over the next one and under the next one. So we're going to go over number 5, and now we're back to 1. We went over 1 before, and this time we're going to go under it. Over 2 and under 3. Over 4, and last time we went over 5, this time our next move is to go under. And we're back to 1, and this time we're going to go over it. Under 2, over 3 and under 4, over 5, under 1, over 2, under 3, over 4, under 5. And so every time we pass number 5, we are forced to do the opposite of what we did on our last pass. And we're just simply going to keep weaving to fill this circle. The bigger the circle, obviously, the more thread it's going to take. It is quite a thread hungry stitch, so that's worth keeping in mind. When you've got a big circle and not many spokes, sometimes it helps to just put your thumb or your finger on the centre. That helps keep it flat. These look fabulous in variegated thread. I'm going to bring in a new colour. So under number 5, over number 1, what we want to do is choose a spoke where over number 5. So we've got to go under number 1. Just double checking. Yeah. So I've got under 4. I'm going over 5. I'm going to need to go under number 1. So rather than carrying on, I'm going to go under the number 1 spoke, but I'm going to go through the fabric. And finish off my thread on the back. Okay, so I've got my second thread and we went down under number 1. So what I want to do is bring my thread out as if it's coming from underneath spoke number 1. So I'm just sort of angling my needle as it comes up, and it's going to appear like the thread has changed colour by itself. Okay, so we're coming out from under number 1, pulling through until we get to our knot, and then we carry on weaving. So you want to make sure that you're not pulling too tight, because if you do, particularly if you've got quite a lot of space between your spokes, your threads are likely to ride up against each other and sort of pull over the top of the previous row. So just make sure your tension isn't too extreme. Now you can go right the way to the edge of your circle, or you can stop with some spokes on show. You could change colour again if you wanted to. So when you get towards the edge, you will probably need to hook your needle underneath your weaving to find your spoke. It's a bit deceptive because I marked my spokes in almost the same colour as the thread. But if I get rid of those pen marks, you'll be able to see the spoke rather than the pen. So I'm just sliding underneath the weaving to find the spoke, and you can make this as full as you like. The more thread you put in, the more it'll rise up. But that's essentially the woven wheel. So if I bring it up close, you can see the texture of that. It is quite a dimensional stitch. It's sitting up quite far from the fabric. When you've done as much weaving as you want, you just take your needle back down through the fabric and secure on the back. So that is a woven wheel. So right, this one stumped me a little bit. I was really happy with the colours, really happy with the shape, had an idea almost immediately. This threw me because I couldn't work out where we were going to get this in. So the most obvious 8-point star that I thought of was the point of a compass, and I thought that might look really nice and graphic. I think primary colours lend themselves to a really sort of bold graphic design, and so I thought that that would be good. Woven wheels though don't really appear on a compass. I suppose we could put one at the centre, but I thought surely there's a better way of doing that. And then I thought, this is all sort of navigation, nautical. What about if we did something with the phases of the moon? So I've mocked up a little design, and I thought we could make an 8-point star compass and then use woven wheels to do the phases of the moon along the bottom. So I've used that. I just googled 8-point star template, found one that was the right sort of shape, and used it to make 2 little templates, a long kite shape and a diamond. And I have cut out from my primary coloured felt 4 blue diamonds and 4 red kites. Now I did try cutting these in half to get the sort of traditional split shapes, but it is too fiddly and I wasn't enjoying myself, so I thought I would just keep it really simple. So to get 8 little circles in, I'm going to use an 8mm circle. This is a circle template. They're really easy to get hold of. And I'm just going to put in my little circles along the bottom. They do need to be quite close together, and I'm digging right into the template because I want circles rather than weird sort of egg shapes. Please excuse my voice, I've got a horrid cold. But now I did think about doing the face of the moon around the compass, and if we were working on squares that would have worked really well because we could have put them in between the stars, but because we're working on a rectangle I just couldn't find a way of making it work that I was happy with. So what I'm going to do, I've got my little fabric glue stick pen here. I'm going to just put a little bit of glue on the back just to hold these in place while I'm working. So we're going to have a red diamond for north, south, east and west, a red kite rather. When you're working with felt and points, it sometimes really helps to put some glue right down to the point. It just saves any sort of shredding or disintegration that might happen. These I've misjudged and they're a bit wide, but I can trim those back, it's not the end of the world. And then my diamonds fit in the gaps. Super simple. Much better than trying to work with half. They're just so tiny. That looks really bold and exciting. I'm liking it already. That's not the lid. Okay, let's get rid of that. So I have got a single strand of blue thread. Now, if you're not confident with your stitching and you want to make sure your stitches aren't too visible, you just stitch blue on blue and red on red. I thought we could be a bit playful with colour, and so I'm going to put blue stitching on the red shapes and red stitching on the blue shapes. So I've got 3 anchor stranded cottons here. I really like anchor thread. I know a lot of people use DMC. If you're interested in the colours, the yellow is anchor 290, the blue is 132 and the red is 047. I'll find the DMC equivalents and they should have appeared at the bottom of the screen. So I'm just going to use my free running stitch that I allow myself on every panel to stitch down my compass point shapes. I won't bore you with this. I will just show you how the first one looks and then I'll do the rest off camera. So thank you to everybody who came to see me at the Newark Quilt Festival last weekend. Because I've been filming a couple of weeks ahead, I totally forgot to mention it. And so apologies to those of you that would have come but just didn't know. So I thought I'd get in there while I was thinking about it and tell you about the next 2 shows that I'm doing in the UK. So the next show I'll be at is Textiles East Fair, which is my favourite show. It's actually the first show we ever did. Maybe that's why I like it so much. We weren't able to go quite suddenly. Last year we were all lined up to go, and then we had a bit of a family crisis and weren't able to attend. So really looking forward to being back there. Rick will be with me. We're doing a make and take, which you'll be able to book in for on my website very soon. I just need to put the dates and times on, and that will go live. And that is the 15th and 16th of February 2025. And so I'm hoping we'll have a new kit available, and there are some great people that are going to be there, including Louise Nichols, who's coming all the way from Cornwall. So if you saw my video about her 16 Christmas blocks kit, she will be there. Anne Brooke is going to be there. I know lots of you are familiar with Anne Brooke, handmade by Anne. She's going to be there as well. Angela Damond is going to be there, who is a master in Cantha embroidery. So loads and loads of great artists and creators, loads of fabrics, loads of threads, wool, all sorts of textiles. It is such a great show. If you are nearby, do come along and say hi. So that is at Burgess Hall in St Ives in Cambridgeshire. Please don't go to St Ives in Cornwall. You will be very, very much in the wrong place. So it's the Cambridgeshire St Ives, and I think there's a quilt and embroidery show, like an exhibition as well. And it's just brilliant. It's a brilliant show. Then I am also heading off to Exeter in March for Craft for Crafters and Stitching for All. That is at West Point Arena, and that is the 27th to the 29th of March. That's a Thursday, Friday and Saturday show. Really enjoyed that one last year. So if you are in the southwest of England, it would be great to see you. Do bring along your Winging It projects. I absolutely love seeing what you've made and your versions of things, and any of you that have come to see things at shows, everything looks different in person. So even if you've posted in the Facebook group or on Instagram, do come along and say hi and show me. It is so, so lovely to see you all when you come and say hi. Don't be shy. I promise you, I'm more nervous about meeting people than you are. And yeah, and a special shout out to Barbara, who came to see me at the weekend at Newark and bought me a cup of tea because I was there on my own. It's so lovely to meet you in person. And yeah, so do come along, say hi, bring your stuff to show me, and yeah, hope I see you there. Right, I'm stitching away. That's my running stitch. I'm going to do the same for all the others, and then we'll come back and do our woven wheels. Okay, I've stitched all those down. I thought it would be nice to have a woven wheel at the centre. I don't want a massive one, so I've got a 14mm circle here, and I'm just going to draw around that. So the tricky thing about this is not being put off by the 8 points on the star for your placement. Putting my little markers in like that. Maybe let's do a multicoloured one. I think that'll be fun. What do we start with? We're going to finish with yellow, I think. Right, let's put in some spokes. I've got 2 strands here, so I've only used 1 strand to stitch down those shapes. I'm going to do the rest in 2 strands. So that's the beginning of the woven wheel. I'm going to keep going out and I'm going to stitch these in with yellow thread, and then I'll come back and show you how I'm going to make my faces of the moon. Okay, they're my woven wheels for my face of the moon. I'll come back to those in a second. I just wanted to do my running stitch around the outside. I've threaded up in my needle a strand of red, a strand of yellow and a strand of blue, and I'm just as usual going to running stitch around the outside edge. So I really like thread blending. Every now and again it's going to look more red, then it will look more blue, then it will look more yellow, and we'll just get a sense of those primary colours as we go round. My points of my compass just overlap, so I'm just going to stitch either side rather than stitching over the top. And I don't know if I showed you my woven wheel at the centre there. That's my where I change colour. I think it looks a lot neater now. I've covered over the join at the centre. There's always a way to fix bits that you aren't happy with. Right, so we're almost there. We just need to put in our moon phases, and to do that I've got a watercolour pen. You can do this in lots of different ways, but I thought it was going to be the easiest, so we're going to just dab some of that over the top. I've got a royal blue here. It is going to look not very blue, so you could do this with black if you wanted to, because we do have white already. So we've got our new moon, that is all shadow. So I'm just going to stain the thread. You do have to be a little bit careful because the ink will travel on the thread. So there's our new moon, and then we want a crescent moon. So I'm going to put in a little crescent and colour over the rest. And then we want a halfway. Then we want a dark crescent. Like that. And then this is the full moon, and this is where we start doing our little crescents on the other side. So we're going to do a little dark crescent here. And then we're going to do a halfway. And then we're going to do a 3/4 crescent. Like that. So we've got our phases of the moon along the bottom. Just going to bring that up a little bit closer for you. It's quite cute. I like to do everything with stitch, but it was the only way I could think to get our woven wheels looking like phases of the moon. So I'm going to grab my book. That was week 3. It's all felt, so I'm going to add glue to the page rather than the back of the fabric. Let's pop that in. Like that. We can date it the 26th of the 1st, 25, and then we flip over and we've got our picks. So we've got primary, woven wheel, and 8-point star. I think I've put those in the wrong order, but we don't mind, do we? And there we go. So there's our pick of the pots for this week. Week 4, we've got our compass rose 8-point star, we've got our woven wheel phases of the moon, and we've done it all in primary colours. Cannot wait to see what you create using our picks this week. Don't forget to use hashtag FSHWingingIt2025. Make sure you get the hashtag right. Tag me at Feather Stitch House and I'm more likely to see your creations. And you can always post in our private Facebook group, and there's a link to that in the description below. It doesn't cost anything, you just have to agree to the group rules and I will let you in. Have a great week with your pick of the pots this week, and I will see you next Sunday for our next pick. Take care. Bye.